As the toxic land case stirs public opinion, Chinese netizens reveal more properties on toxic land. NIO, electric vehicle company, to cut 10% of workforce, suffers 76.4 billion losses in 5.5 years. Shaanxi province, 30,000 trees forcefully cut without compensation, villagers assert government issue permits. Experts, why China is unable to achieve its own chip autonomy. It's all covered in today's China Truths. As the toxic land case stirs public opinion, Chinese netizens reveal more properties on toxic land. After the media reported on the toxic land incident in Lujiazui, Shanghai, the topic of Jiangsu toxic land quickly became a hot search on mainland China's internet social platforms. Some netizens also exposed the redevelopment of other well-known toxic land parcels in different cities. For example, some netizens disclosed 5 well-known toxic land parcels in Wuhan. Some of these parcels were subjected to so-called detoxification treatments paid for by real estate developers, resulting in the construction of new developments. However, the pollution levels in some areas remain severe, and nearby residents can still smell strong odors. The Weibo account Watcher of Water Towers recently posted that Hanxiyuna, Guanggu Changdong, and Gudian 1135 are the 3 major toxic land areas in Wuhan, corresponding to the developments Hanjiangyuna, Fanyucheng, Kunyufu, and Huafa Gudian. Among them, the toxicity of the Hanjiangyuna site is still relatively strong, and the blogger advised followers not to buy. Some netizens commented, they also missed mentioning a toxic land in Jiang'an, which used to be a chemical plant. Another netizen added, Hanyang's Jianghanyuna is the site of a pesticide factory, and the toxicity of organic pesticides makes it challenging to remediate. There is also a pesticide factory toxic land in Wuchang, Changjiang Zidu, with a similar situation. In reality, the redevelopment of severely polluted land for various construction purposes is widespread in provinces across mainland China. In the summer of 2019, environmental organization Greenpeace jointly released a report with Nanjing University, stating that as of October 2018, out of the 174 polluted land parcels disclosed by 27 provincial capital cities in China, 25% had already been auctioned for commercial development, schools, hospitals, etc. However, about 44% of the auctioned polluted land had not completed soil remediation. These lands are mainly used for commercial and residential purposes or the development of public spaces such as schools, green areas, and hospitals. If these lands are not remediated before being put into use, they pose a safety hazard to the public. The report titled Issues and Countermeasures in the Development and Utilization of Polluted Land in Chinese Cities pointed out that the most common pollutants in polluted land are heavy metals, volatile organic compounds, and semi-volatile organic compounds. Approximately 41% of polluted land sites were originally abandoned chemical plants, and a slight mishap during redevelopment could lead to secondary pollution, endangering public safety. One of the authors of the report, Bao Hang, director of the Pollution Prevention Project at Greenpeace, further pointed out that the disclosed list of polluted land in provincial capital cities is not comprehensive, stating, considering China's urban soil pollution situation, the actual situation may be even more severe. NIO, electric vehicle company, to cut 10% of workforce, suffers 76.4 billion losses in 5.5 years. Recently, NIO's chairman and CEO, William Li, issued an internal letter to all employees, titled Organizational Optimization and 2-Year Priorities, confirming that NIO will reduce around 10% of its workforce, with specific adjustments to be completed in November. According to NIO's financial report, as of the end of 2022, the company had a total of 26,800 employees. This round of layoffs is expected to affect nearly 3,000 employees. In terms of financial performance, NIO is deeply mired in losses. From 2018 to 2022, NIO's net profit attributable to shareholders was losses of 23.328 billion yuan, 11.413 billion yuan, 5.611 billion yuan, 10.572 billion yuan, and 14.559 billion yuan, respectively. In the first half of 2023, NIO's net loss was 10.926 billion yuan, bringing the company's total accumulated losses to 76.4 billion yuan over the past 5.5 years. NIO, XPeng Motors, and Li Auto are the three major players in China's electric vehicle industry. Currently, all three are experiencing substantial losses. Among them, XPeng Motors incurred a net loss of over 5.1 billion yuan in the first half of this year, while Li Auto had a net loss of 2.276 billion yuan. Shaanxi Province, 30,000 trees forcefully cut without compensation, villagers assert government issued permits. According to a report by mainland China's Cover News on November 11, villagers including Li Gui, pseudonym, from Taizimio village in Kaichuan Town, Danfeng County, complained to the media. 8 years ago, they signed a contract with the village and town government to lease the land and planted tens of thousands of national locust and walnut trees. However, they recently received a notice of order to rectify within a limited time issued by the town government, claiming that the land where they planted trees is permanent basic farmland, and planting seedlings is illegal. They were instructed to correct or rectify on their own within the time limit specified by the authorities to restore the original planting conditions to be lightly mitigated or exempted from administrative penalties. Li Gui, representing planting households, revealed that they were informed that anything within the basic red line of satellite positioning is considered illegal. While his own forest land is intact, 5.3 acres of his partner's land have been forcibly destroyed. Approximately 20,000 national locust trees and decades-old walnut trees were cut down on the implicated land. The planting households, including Li Gui, reject the government's actions. They argue that the initial land contract clearly limited land transfer to agricultural purposes, such as planting, orchards, and animal husbandry. The contract was officially stamped by various authorities, including the Village Committee, Cooperative, Kaichuan Town People's Government, and the Danfeng County Agricultural Bureau. The cooperative also obtained a special permit for tree seed production, issued by the Danfeng County Tree Seedling Station. The cutting down of trees has resulted in significant financial losses for them. At the same time, a video circulating on social media shows a villager in Kaichuan Town, Danfeng County, trying to stop officials from cutting down his planted trees. The villager is forcibly taken away by the tree-cutting personnel. According to the netizen who posted the video, the person forcibly taken away is Mr. Kai, a villager in Kaichuan Town, who bought 30,000 tree seedlings in 2014 and planted national locust trees on his own 6 mu of land and 2 mu of land leased from others. Now he has been ordered to cut down these trees. Mr. Kai disagreed, so village officials removed all of Mr. Kai's surveillance wires, organized personnel, and forcibly cut down the trees. Regarding the above events, the official Chinese Communist Party media reported after an on-site investigation by the investigation team, confirming that the involved villagers indeed illegally occupied permanent basic farmland, and the forced measures taken by the authorities do not involve compensation matters. After the news of the forced cutting of tens of thousands of trees in Danfeng County, Shaanxi Province, was published on the internet, many Chinese netizens expressed sympathy for the plight of the planters. Some netizens commented, "Stupid officials, fruits, meat, dried fruits, are they not considered food?" Others sarcastically commented, others sarcastically remarked, "Changing orders overnight, autocracy, isn't that a special characteristic?" Experts, why China is unable to achieve its own chip autonomy. The U.S. government updated its restrictions on chip exports to China in October. Specialized chips like NVIDIA A800 and H800, which were previously exportable to China, are no longer permitted to be sold to the Chinese market. Additionally, even the less advanced deep ultraviolet (DUV) lithography equipment capable of producing chips in the 14 to 28 nanometer range has also been subjected to export prohibitions. Semiconductors, a general term for chips, can be found in thousands of products, including smartphones, computers, and medical equipment. It is also an advanced and critical component of military electronic systems. The restrictions adopted by the United States are deemed as measures to choke off China's access to high-end chips made and designed in the United States and relevant American technologies and equipment. According to China's state-run media CCTV in 2020, the Chinese regime has been beefing up efforts to boost its domestic capacity for designing and manufacturing semiconductors, hoping to reduce imported chips to 30% by 2025. However, China experts believe that the restrictions imposed by the United States will greatly retard the development of China's semiconductor industry. According to experts, even if China starts to invest large amounts of money in the development of high-end chips, the communist regime faces enormous challenges and won't be able to achieve independence in its chips industry. Highly internationalized supply chain. According to Chu Jianrong, a professor at the Department of Economics, Taiwan's National Central University, the semiconductor industry is a very specialized one that needs cooperation and sharing of resources among various sectors in different countries and can't succeed simply by throwing money at it. The semiconductor industry is extremely vast and complex, said Mr. Chu. Much of the research and development, as well as patents, are in the United States. Crucial compounds are in Japan, lithography equipment is in the Netherlands, and in Taiwan, you have a group of hardworking and diligent skilled workers. Mr. Chu added that, with the U.S. sanctions on exports to China, it would be very challenging for the Chinese regime to combine all these sectors in China, which will take at least 10 years and billions of dollars to do so. He cited the United States as an example. Although the United States has the know-how of cutting-edge chip technology, it still needs Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, Limited, TSMC, to set up its fabs in the United States for the production of chips. Components and equipment controlled by allies of the U.S. Tai Qian, a Taiwanese expert on international economics, said that most of the key chemical compounds are in Japan. Mr. Tai said, in the 1980s and 1990s, Japan replaced the United States to be a major player in the semiconductor manufacturing industry, and it took over the production of chemical products from the U.S. This advantage of Japan has remained unshaken to this day. Mr. Tai is an associate research fellow at the International Economic Research Division of Taiwan's Tsinghua Institution for Economic Research, CIER, specializing in industry strategy management and emerging technology and entrepreneurship. He added that, even though Taiwan has been developing semiconductors for a long time and has many specialty chemicals, it still cannot replace Japan, because Japanese companies own many of the key processes and patents in the production of these chemicals. Mr. Tai said, Japanese companies are very powerful in this regard. Their supply has always been very stable. If you want to find a second source to replace it, sometimes you may encounter issues with purity and stability. According to Brad Liao, a senior IC design manager based in Taiwan, the EUV lithography systems produced by the Dutch ASML are at a level of sophistication that can't be easily surpassed in a short time by any of its opponents. ASML spent more than €6 billion in EUV R&D over 17 years, according to the Dutch company. A lithography machine is a highly precise instrument with extremely stringent requirements for precision. Mr. Liao said, to integrate so many components and achieve such high precision, there is a lot of know-how involved. Mr. Liao said, it's not something that can be caught up within just 5 or 10 years. Mr. Liao said, when China finally manages to produce something using its domestic technology, it will be 10 years later than that of the Western manufacturers, and the quality of the products would be rather poor. For example, Huawei's recent phones are installed with chips produced with out-of-date, Chinese, technology, and they easily get hot. Following the export bans of the U.S. government, the Chinese semiconductor industry has felt the stranglehold recently. More Threads Intelligent Technology Beijing Company, a Chinese developer of graphics processors and AI accelerators set up 3 years ago, reportedly plans to cut a single-digit percentage of its roughly 1,000 employees after it was put on the U.S. Entity List in October. China is seen to rely on imported foreign chips in the coming years. OF Week, a Chinese high-tech information outlet based in China's southern tech hub Shenzhen City, reported in August that China's domestically made chips account for about 12% of the total chips needed in 2023. This percentage falls far behind the regime's target of 70% by 2027. China lacks skilled workers that Taiwan has. Mr. Liao agreed with Mr. Chu that Taiwan has a very competitive advantage, its pool of skilled workers in the semiconductor industry, who are hardworking, diligent, and responsible. He said that there was a significant earthquake that struck Taiwan in October that had a substantial impact on semiconductor equipment. After the earthquake, TSMC's engineers immediately rushed back to the factory to check if the equipment had any issues and to ensure they operated properly because TSMC's factories run around the clock. Mr. Liao said, "That's why TSMC has a yield rate of over 90%, which is much higher than that of its competitors, which is 80% and below." Mr. Tai said that China also lacks skilled workers in the design and manufacturing of semiconductors. Mr. Tai said, whether the qualification of the Chinese workforce can keep up is a question. He continued, Chinese scientists in this industry are really rare because China's first-class skilled workers are mostly in businesses and finance. Possible tricks to circumvent the chip ban. The China experts warned, facing the American export prohibitions and China's need for cutting-edge chips, the communist regime is likely to adopt various tricks to obtain foreign skilled workers and technologies. Mr. Tai said that Western democracies should not sell products with advanced chips to China. He said, Sony had a gaming console called PlayStation, which had a 128-bit GPU inside. However, this game console was banned from being sold to North Korea, mainland China, and Russia at that time. This was because the chip in the game console developed by Sony had very strong computing capabilities and could be repurposed for missile guidance. He added that Russia used refrigerator chips in missiles in the Russia-Ukraine war. It might be necessary for the West to reevaluate what things could now potentially be transferred to China through commercial products unnoticed. Mr. Tai said, another possible way for Beijing to avoid the chip ban is to skip the current chip technology and tap into more advanced systems that are currently not banned, such as photonic chips and quantum computers that are still in the experimental and research stages. He reminded the West not to share any research or experiment information and data with Beijing. Mr. Tai said, the CCP is also investing in these areas, and if we don't start to restrict these technologies at the beginning, could it possibly make a leap in development and take the lead in these areas, adding that Beijing's past experience of developing its mobile phones is a lesson for Western countries. The Chinese regime began its mobile telecommunication by imitating and copying the achievements of the West for its first generation, 1G, to third generation, 3G, telecommunication system. It gradually caught up with the West in the fourth generation, 4G, and Chinese companies such as Huawei and ZTE emerged in the global market competition. Huawei later became a major player in the fifth generation, 5G, telecommunication system and participated in setting the standards of research and development and commercial testing of 5G systems. Western countries, including the United States, Australia, and Japan, have banned Huawei from building its 5G networks in their country due to Huawei allegedly committing cyber espionage, intellectual property theft, and trade violations in foreign countries. Don't forget to leave a comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths.